As I've struggled with the evidence more and have read more of the skepticism of others, others being much more, I can admire courage when I see it without necessarily having it myself, I've really come to see through Denton's work, through the work of Steve Meyer, of many other people who have written on this, of Michael Behe, that there really are deficits in the evidence. And particularly as I've read many of the defenders. Frankly, many of the defenders have stiffened my spine. I think I would heartily recommend Stephen Gould's It's a Wonderful Life to anyone. And one understands that many of the predictions that must be true on this model are not panning out. One realizes that the history of Darwinism, particularly in the 20th century, has been the history of its revisions. That from the neo-Darwinian synthesis of the 1940s to the present day, that there increasingly have been difficulties in the theory. I particularly was impressed with a paper by a friend and colleague of mine, Art Bateson, that I think well summarizes a number of the objections to the theory. And particularly I was impressed with his expression, which certainly echoes what I'd been reading from Gould, that taxonomic disparity precedes specific diversity. Well, if you've followed the logic of the origin, if you've suffered through, did not fall asleep during chapter 4, and if you've come to see all those transitional grades, and if you've struggled, really struggled, to see what he's talking about with respect to those phylogenetic trees, then you understand quite clearly that species diversity has to come first before there is taxonomic disparity. And when it sinks in, what Gould has shown us from the Burgess Shale, that there are distinct forms, that they're very early on, and we have no transitional grades early to them, that at least has to give one pause. And if one follows this with Mike Behe and others' arguments, that there's a minimum amount of complexity that you need for things to function at all, then one realizes that what Darwin is talking about in chapter 10 may in fact be fact, and that the idea of transitional grades may not be a credible idea at all.